see from transphobic lesbians is when you hear them talk about trans women, it's very, very clear that they think that trans women approach sex the way that men do, and they literally could not be more wrong. It's actually crazy. And that's just, like, they tell on themselves a lot. They tell on themselves a lot for really just not knowing the first thing about trans women. You know what I mean?
No, actually, I don't know what you mean. What are we telling on ourselves about? And then, it's like they wonder why there's so many problems and so much discourse in this community. Just leave lesbians alone. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that should be very, very obvious, but apparently it's not obvious, and I kind of can't believe I actually have to go over this. And that is, what is a lesbian?
Lesbian!
Yep, you heard it here. What is a lesbian? We have to talk about that because apparently it is not clear what a lesbian is and is not. But before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the support that's been coming in. Lots of messages, lots of comments. We've been having a really great time over here building this channel, and I super appreciate it very, very much to everyone that's tuning in. I do social and political commentary. Sometimes it's based off of LGBT issues, sometimes not, sometimes celebrity stuff, local news, politics, that sort of thing. If that sounds interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button. All right, so today we're talking about what is a lesbian. And it's really funny. We have to even have this conversation. I never would have thought in a million trillion years that we'd be having to sit around, emphasize what the actual definition is because so many people are appropriating it. And we're seeing it a lot in mostly internet spaces. I don't know how much people take this stuff seriously in real life. I remember growing up and when I first was out of the closet and I would tell someone I was a lesbian and some guy would be in the bar with me and he'd say, "Hey, I'm a lesbian too." And I feel like there's a lot of other lesbians out there that can share in that experience of being annoyed by these stupid guys that are making dumb jokes. The difference was we knew that it was a joke. We all knew it was a joke. Was it annoying? Was it kind of cringe? Sure, but it was a joke. Now there are people that are literally very, very serious when they say that they're a lesbian. We're going to react to a couple of clips, and I've got a special one for you guys today, too, that actually is a blast from the past. I did an episode with Buck Angel over a year ago now, and I reacted to some TikToks where people were saying that they were lesbians and what their lesbian experience was and whatnot. And while I was doing research for this video, I came across some other videos that were in response to that video that we never saw. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit today. And I'm going to get your guys' thoughts because I just think it's wild. There's a reason that females are gatekeeping that word. And it's because of the appropriation behind it. A lot of this seems to be rooted in sexism, misogyny. It's just annoying and it's gross and it has to stop. And I really wish more lesbians would come out and speak on this. And whenever we do, we're called names, which is why I think you're not seeing as many people stepping up to the plate as you should be. But, I'm called a TERF all the time and I don't care. Call me a TERF. Call me ugly. Call me a transphobe. Call me all the same things you call all these people that you don't agree with when they come to you with logic and facts and reality. All right, so let's get started with the first one.
Engages with any discourse, but recently there's been some discourse on my page that I thought I should address really quickly. I recently posted a video which is linked to this comment where I defined lesbianism as a non-man loving a non-man, which on my corner of the internet, that's what we've been saying. I'm personally not non-binary, but I did take this definition as a cue from non-binary people who feel very tied to lesbianism because for a long time they probably...
Okay, before we go any further, let's just look up what the definition of a lesbian is, because they're throwing words out there already like non-binary, and I'm like, who cares? That's a self-ID term that you've placed on yourself that really has nothing to do with your sexuality. So what is the definition of lesbian? Of relating to or characterized by sexual or romantic attraction to other women or between women. Now, Let's look up the word woman. What is a woman? An adult female human being. Well, what is a female? Of or denoting the sex that can bear offspring or produce eggs, distinguished biologically by the production of ova that can be fertilized by male gametes. Huh. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. If we go back by all the definitions that are actually rooted in fact and not in ideology. Let's continue.
Probably identified as a lesbian before they discovered their gender identity, and they don't necessarily want to relinquish that, which is extremely understandable. If you found your queer community and you've got comfort for yourself in a lesbian community, who am I to kick you out when you start going by different pronouns and start identifying with a different gender? Like, that's not my place. But I got a lot of comments on that video that were like, if you like women and non-binary people, you're not a lesbian, you're bi. Which, a lot of these comments, frankly, were coming from non-lesbians. I had a man arguing with me in these comments about what the definition of lesbian was.
Okay, if you're bisexual, it means you like men and you like women. If you're a lesbian, you like females, and you're a female too. I don't understand why this is so complicated. Why is the non-binary thing holding up anything anywhere? Because there's two sexes. And I know everybody wants to, she's playing around like there's all these genders and all these sexes and all these things. It's like, no, there's two at the end of the day. And we all know that. And this is just a game of semantics.
Also, people in the community who are very against this definition. And I've got one thing to say about it. And here it is. Here's my one piece of advice. Who cares? Who cares what other people identify as? It does not diminish your own definition. If you're a lesbian and you're like, I only date women, okay, you're a lesbian. If you're a lesbian and you date women and non-binary people, okay, you're a lesbian. Like, I cannot stand when people think they know other people's lived experience.
Your lived experience and the reality of a definition are two different things. Your lived experience is probably not that of a lesbian experience if you're demanding that it is, and you're getting pushback from actual lesbians saying, no, it's not. It's probably a bisexual experience or a pansexual experience or trans experience. Like it's so frustrating to watch people move the goalposts on definitions and redefine them in order to support their experience or their agenda. There's a reason that definitions and terms and vocabulary exist in language to begin with. We need to be able to identify things as they are. And changing of language and all of this argument about how language is always changing and it's progressive. No, it isn't necessarily progressive. And I think in this instance, it's very regressive, it's misogynistic, it's sexist, and it's just totally disrespectful to lesbians and what they actually are and what it really means to be one.
Mama, how I feel is not how somebody else feels. And also, who am I to tell someone who's in a happy relationship with their partner, actually, just, you're not in a lesbian relationship. Who cares?
So this is all about feelings. This is what she's telling us here. She's telling us that this isn't about reality. It's about feelings. And feelings supersede reality. Feelings trump definitions. This is something that has an actual definition, an origin, a place in it, in history itself. And it's being erased and replaced with nothing and everything all at the same time. And it's a very postmodern world viewpoint that apparently, nothing's absolute anymore. Or some people like to say that this is about queer theory. And I think there are I think those that say that are onto something here too. And lesbian isn't the only word that this has happened with. It's happened with the word woman. What is a woman? And suddenly nobody can define that either. And is it really that hard? No one wants to tell the truth anymore. No one wants to say what reality is. And instead, everyone wants to just deny facts because they want to pacify someone's feelings. So now we're going to switch our attention to this next clip. This person, it's mansplaining. Take a look and we'll talk about it.
See from transphobic lesbians is when you hear them talk about trans women, it's very, very clear that they think that trans women approach sex the way that men do, and they literally could not be more wrong. It's actually crazy. And that's just, like, they tell on themselves a lot. They tell on themselves a lot for really just not knowing the first thing about trans women. You know what I mean?
No, actually, I don't know what you mean. What are we telling on ourselves about exactly? That we're transphobic? What are you talking about? And then, it's like they wonder why there's so many problems and so much discourse in this community. Just leave lesbians alone. I hate to break it to you, but I don't care what you want in bed. Even Lily Tino has appropriated lesbianism.
Switching sides.
You're not switching anything. You're literally not switching anything. You are taking a term and claiming it for yourself, even though you're a biological male. That is not okay. Stop being so misogynistic. And I'm telling you, you can tell by the look on these people's faces that it's erotic fantasy for the majority of them.
Lovelies, happy Halloween! It's me, Jory. How you doing? How you feeling? Today, I want to talk about how does my trans identity align with me being a lesbian? Now, being a lesbian is much like being trans at the core of my identity. It is a big part of who I am and how I identify, and intertwines so much with my beliefs, morals, and like how I live my life. And being a lesbian has so many positives for me and is so amazing.
That doesn't even make any sense because you're a biological male. This was the video that me and Buck Angel reacted to about a year and a half ago, and there was a couple of response videos from this individual where they called me a TERF. Of course, surprise! I got called a TERF again. Whatever, it doesn't even matter to me. And then they actually had the audacity to sit there and say that they couldn't believe that Buck Angel would have a TERF lesbian representing the lesbian community. Now, I'm going to answer you this. What other kind of lesbian do you think should have been representing the lesbian community? You? You're not a lesbian.
But the thing is here is Buck Angel is a trans man. Buck Angel is a transgendered man. And then he brings in a lesbian who, during the video, straight up says she's a TERF. It's just TERF. I don't know why he thought he should bring a TERF on to represent the lesbian community. But here's some of the things that he said about me.
Lesbians are exclusive to females who like other females. This is going to be a redundant video because I cannot stress enough that lesbians are not males biologically. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the definition. And honey, you don't fit the definition of lesbian. You can make stuff up in your head all you want. You can have this lived experience that you claim is lesbian, but it isn't lesbian. Everybody knows that. You're having a different kind of experience. You should probably come up with wording for that and use it and talk about it, because we would probably get along a lot better if you just left the lesbians alone and stopped appropriating what a lesbian is. I don't know if there's something wrong in this society right now where people do not have reading comprehension anymore or understand what definitions are and how they work, because to me, they just want to rework them and dilute ideas and boil them down to nothing so that they can claim it or claim that it means all these different things to different people. And if that's the case, then what's the point in having the word at all, right? I feel sorry for some of these people because they will dig their heels in forever and always, that everybody else that pushes back on them about what reality is, that we're the ones that are wrong. And I think it boils down to feelings. This is about this person's feelings. They may feel like a lesbian. I would know that, I guess, because I'm a female who's attracted to other females. So I guess I know what it's like to feel like a lesbian.
Misconception that lesbian means a woman who loves other women.
Misconception.
And actually, the definition is non-men who are attracted to and love other non-men.
We're just making stuff up as we go now, aren't we? But let's try something. Let's look at what the actual definition of a lesbian is. Notice how it said women not non-men. But I imagine that quite shortly that definition will be changed or altered so that it can go along with the ideologies that are currently being pushed. Because if people don't like the way that things are, they just change the definitions. That does seem to be the way of things lately. But let's continue.
There have always been gender nonconforming lesbians, and it's interesting to see nowadays that there are some folks who kind of try to gatekeep that identity. And
Gatekeeping. Seriously. Well, I guess if one's argument doesn't really have much to stand on, adding buzzwords will definitely add more validity, won't it?
gatekeep that identity and only include folks who identify as women, when that's not what being lesbian is all about. There's like a zillion different ways to be a lesbian.
We may have actually reached the point where real definitions of words may have actually lost all meaning because feelings are more important than actual definitions now.
So this person is just making stuff up as they go. Like, it's inclusive. And what they don't understand is that it hurts lesbians when you talk like this, because it gives men permission to claim that term and say that they are, and all of that stuff that I talked about. The lesbian community has faced a lot of misogyny. I mean, from the day that I came out of the closet, there were men saying to me, "Oh, well, you just haven't had the right guy. They just haven't gotten, you just haven't had the right dick." Stuff like that over and over and over again was said to me. And you know what? It's not said to gay men. Typically, it's not. When a gay guy says that they're gay, do you see a bunch of people coming out going, "Oh, well, you just haven't had the right pussy"? Yeah. No, not usually. That's usually not a thing. Once a gay guy says they're gay, and that's it. But women, no. You can be changed. You can be fixed. This misogyny thing has now been sort of repackaged and repurposed, and now it looks like this. Guys, tell me what you think down below in the comments about what is a lesbian or is not a lesbian.